So, if you're looking to know the truth about how much barbers actually make per year on average in the US, then this video is for you. My name's Alex Dermillo. I own House of Shaves Barbershop. We've been open since 2015. I've seen barbers make over 100,000 a year, and I've seen barbers make barely minimum wage. So I wanted to make this video because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions out there on social media about what barbers can actually make. And in this video, I hope that you can see and what we'll see together what barbers actually make according to the most reliable sources that we have access to. So, if you want to know the truth about how much barbers actually make on average, then this video is for you. So, let's just get into it. So, we're going to go to Google and we're going to just search average barber salary. We'll start with that. And so we're going to go to the most reliable sources. So we're going to skip Reddit. We're going to skip these job boards because they just kind of sometimes these, especially like Indeed, will just like take the average of whatever the owners are posting as their revenue or their income and put it so that can be way off. So I wouldn't go off those job boards. But let's start here with salary.com. I would say this is a pretty reliable source. So for salary.com, what we're seeing now is the average barber salary, and I'm in Jacksonville, so it's showing me Jacksonville, but you can do this for any city. You can change the city. You can go by state too. And there may be some definitely some differences, like in California and New York, the average salary might be higher just because of the cost of living is higher. But for this example, we're going to stick with Florida, but you can do this with any state you want. It's salary.com. That's where I'm at right now. Okay. So what we're seeing right now is this is called a bell curve, if you remember that from school, right? So you're going to have some people that are on the bottom 10 and 25%, and then you're going to have people at the top 25%, the top 10%. And as you can see, the median, which is a little bit different than average, but the median is $32,505. Now that's again for my city, but you can do this for your city and it'll show you something different, but chances are it'll be not too far off from this. So as you can see, the median is $32,505. So that is the basically an average, another way of saying average for the barber salaries in this city. Now you can break this down a little bit further by switching it from annually. Some people like to look at it weekly. I think barbers tend to think in terms of weeks. And that breaks down to about $625 a week. And what does that look like hourly? $16 an hour. So in other words, if you're making $16 an hour, you're about average in terms of your income for barbers. And I'm not sure if this includes tips or whatnot, but if let's just say it does, right? If you're making at least $16 an hour total, including tips, then you are at least doing the average in terms of barbers income. Now, if you and what you'll see here from the bell curve, if you're making $22 an hour or more, then you're in the top 10% of all barbers in your area, wherever this area is that you started with. And you can change it with you can look at it as a table if you want, if that helps you better. But this is basically saying the same thing, just looking at it a little bit differently. So you'll be in the 90th percentile of earners of barbers if you are $22 an hour or more. You can do the same thing with annually. So if you are making 45 grand or more as a barber in Jacksonville, then you are in the top 90th percentile of all barbers. So probably a lot different than you were expecting. But let's go to a different website because some of y'all are gonna be thinking, well, that's not true. That's way lower. Well, let's see. So we're now going to go to an official government website called the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Let's see what they say. So this is for nationwide, okay? This is all of the US, not just Jacksonville, where I'm at. So you can start to see here that the numbers aren't that far off from what we were seeing just a minute ago. If you can see here, the mean hourly wage is $19.99. The annual wage is $41,570. So in other words, there's not like a pretty little graph here, but this would be the middle. So if you're at least making 41,000, then you are doing about average. And then if you're doing more than that, then you're above average. So they do have like the percentiles broken down here. So as well, so you can see here, to be in the 90th percentile according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which gathers data from the entire country, you need to be 61,000 or more to be in the 90th percentile. So again, this is probably a lot different than what a lot of barbers are claiming to do on social media. As long as you are doing at least 61,000 a year or more, then you are in the top 10% of all barbers. Now, of course, I believe that there are barbers that I have barbers making more than this right now. And they are in the top 90% of all earners in the entire country. But I don't believe it's fair to kind of go to barbers and kind of say, you need to be making 100 grand a year, because according to this, that's not really realistic. I mean, it would put you in the top 10%. And I believe there are barbers that are making 100 grand a year. I'm not calling them liars, but if you're just coming out of barber school, for example, it is, I believe, a little bit unrealistic to think that you can make 100 grand your first year, because the average, according to the Bureau, is 36,000, right? And it really depends on where you go, the type of shop you work at, how much volume, etc. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you are going to be making 100 grand straight year one out of school when the average is 36. And to be in the top 10%, you have to be making at least 61,000 per year. So this idea of you got to be making 100 grand a year, I think it's an amazing goal and everybody should strive to do that, but it's not really realistic, right? You can do it, but the the median, you're going to fall somewhere in the 35 to 40 grand range, right? And if you're up here, then you should be really, really happy. And I think, again, you should strive for more. I'm not telling you to lower your expectations, but what I'm trying to do is set realistic expectations that as long as you're doing 61,000 or more, you are in the top 10%. And if you're doing more than that, amazing. And we can look at just those are some of the more reliable sources that I've found, but just kind of scanning through here, talent.com says 48,000 a year in Florida. Squire says 35,000 a year. They might be a more reliable source since they can actually see how much barbers are making through their POS system. The Barber Skool says 30,000, between 37 and 48. I don't see anybody saying that 100 grand a year is average. Again, I believe that there are barbers out there that are doing it, but is it the average? No, absolutely not. Now let's look at just for just for perspective. I wanted to show you what the average income in the US is. And this is not just barbers anymore. We're just talking about the US as a country and all jobs. So I just typed this in here, and this is the first thing that came up. So is as of 2022, which is 2 years ago as of recording, the median income in the US is $37,585. I like that they use median actually, because average would we probably be throwing it off a way more, because you have like billionaires, making $1 billion a year, and that would drive up the average. But median basically takes a middle number, the most common number. And yeah, so as you can see, I mean, there are it's really not varying too much. So we can try to find a source that's sooner. Let's go to Forbes and see what they say. So average salary by state. So Florida, 55,000, 58, 50. I mean, unless you get into these states where the cost of living like New York is high, I mean, the average there is 74,000, 73,000 in California. I mean, the rest most of the country, it looks like, with some exceptions, is gonna be in the $50,000 range for salary, probably mid-50s. So, look, I think it's important to keep that in mind when you have these social media people saying, you know, "You should be making 100 grand a year as a barber." Well, according to these websites, not even but outside of the industry is that common. So I wanted to make this video so you guys could see that I believe you should shoot for 100 grand a year. I'm not saying that that's not a great goal and that you should strive for that. But when I just have an issue with these people on social media claiming that that's what you should be doing, because for somebody that's coming out of barber school and you don't have any skills yet, it's just not really realistic to think that you're going to make that coming out of school, if ever. But you can do it. I've seen barbers do it, and it's certainly possible, but it would put you well into the top 10% if you did make 100 grand or more as a barber in the US. So hopefully you found that helpful. Uh, this might ruffle some feathers, but this is the kind of things that I wish I knew when I was getting started. And if you want more help, join my group. I'll put the link to the community in the description of this video below.